Chapter 11. First Contact. Sup chum. Ori wets his lips as he looks between the strange short stack and the increasingly amused-looking Judy, who'd spun her chair around and leaned against the bar to get a good view of all of this. Good on you for buying her that drink, Judy. Didn't think you swung that way, he states after a moment, throwing her the live grenade. Strangely, Judy's cheeks actually redden at that. What? Lost your nerve after going through all that trouble? Ori? Come on, Rebecca. You know he's full of shit. I don't know. She leans forwards with a mischievous grin. I've seen you looking my way. Shame we don't bat for the same teams. Humph, whatever. Judy grumbles. Since you're here, I assume you're trying to come back. She quickly changes the subject. Rebecca shakes her head and downs the drink Ori had unintentionally passed her way. Pfft, not anytime soon. Just went through a test, but apparently killing the hostage ain't allowed. It's a game, goddammit. Why not use the big-ass rocket they give you? An exercise to test you, you know, after the shit you pulled last time? Judy retorts. Hey, that wasn't my fault. That guy ran right in front of my gun, she argues, taking a seat next to Ori and kicking her feet up onto the bar. You blew the head off of a suits kid. A suit that spent more eddies on the mocks than anyone else. I don't agree with Susie, but do you really think you're worth more than 30,000 eddies a month? Duh. Obviously there ain't anybody like me. Rebecca childishly responds with folded arms. Judy rubs her forehead. Yeah, and we all have to suffer for it. The girl leans closer to Ori and begins inspecting his face closely with a grin. So who's the boy toy? Looks too young and wimpy to be in the gang. Not pretty enough for BDs. I'm right here, you know. Ori protests, wondering if he should just leave and save himself the headache. He came looking for help from Susie, but she refused. I'm helping him in the meantime, says he might start merc work. Name's Ori, he offers lightly. HM? Rebecca. She dismissively replies before continuing. Ori? Sounds like a girly name. You one of those dyke lesbos I heard about? He frowns at her. Don't know. You one of those trans dudes who overcompensate with the dumb ditzy attitude? He questions, causing a vein to visibly throb on the girl's forehead. Judy pauses in thought. Maybe you could help him out since it looks as if you're gonna stay solo. She snorts at that and turns to him. No offense, that stunt you pulled with the drink was funny, but I ain't going anywhere with you. That's just asking to get shot in the face. Ori crooks a brow at her, not offended in the slightest, just curious. Oh yeah? She begins pointing at him. You're wearing rags, got the shittiest gun I can think of, and look like you haven't eaten in a week. I'd probably be better off picking up a junkie off the street. Ouch. Judy quietly remarks. What? Think I'm wrong? Rebecca questions the BD techie.
No.
Ori states, you're probably right, but it's not like I've got other options. He relents, knowing well his chances of survival weren't great. Are you deaf? I just said this job don't suit you. Unless you're actually looking to die, then be my guest. Rebecca irritably huffs. Getting lectured by some pipsqueak ain't gonna change my mind. What pipsqueak? You trying to say something about my height, ya bum? And for your information, I'm 16. I've still got room to grow, she angrily exclaims, drawing her pink pistol and pushing it against his temple as if to emphasize her point, causing Ori's breath to hitch. Not likely with your body mods. And put the damn gun down. You're in enough trouble even without this. Judy adds with a sigh. PSCH. She reluctantly holsters it at her hip. How old are you then, Ori? Bet you're like a 30-year-old dwarf or something. He shrugs. Almost 16. And I've actually got room to grow. He stands and towers over her, almost a full foot taller. If anyone's a dwarf around here, it's you. She growls at him. Whatever. I'd rather be this size forever than a skinny-ass lamppost-looking hobo. She shakes her head and starts to leave. See you later, Judes. Let me know if the newbie lasts more than a week. We'll throw a party for luckiest asshole in Night City. Yeah. Judy waves her off before turning to him. Looks like you've made your first contact. Congrats. What? Her? He questions. Was she crazy? That girl was definitely more trouble than she was worth. Judy nods. Don't let her looks fool you. She's actually one of the better mercs around here, most of the time at least. I'll send you her debts in a week. See if she's still interested then. Might need to complete some jobs before she'll work with you though. Maybe I should forget being a merc after all, if only to avoid her, he mutters while standing. I'll call you when I've sorted my biz out, he says, headed for the door. Don't take too long. There's only one person riding on this, and it ain't either of us. Yeah, I know. Thanks, Judy. Click. Ori enters the apartment and spots Bats on the couch with his head depressingly in his hands. Did you get what we need? It wasn't enough. The eddies. We don't even have enough to rent the damn things. The man solemnly admits. Ori lets out a sigh and drops onto the couch next to him, just as clueless about what to do next as Bats was. Mox refused to do anything, but a techie offered to help. Looks like I'm becoming a merc.
Sorry.
Bats offers, unable to say anything else. How much are we missing? Around 3,000, give or take? That's not a cheap sum. Ori sincerely doubted he'd get lucky at the junkyard again either. Plus the fact Judy was waiting for him to decide, he felt incredibly tied for time. He turns in the TV on and starts idly flipping through channels, wondering when was the last time he actually watched something, or even relaxed for that matter. Today, Mayor Lucius Rhine announced that under him Night City's crime rate has fallen by a whole 10%. Stay tuned for News 54's very own interview with our illustrious May-BZZT. Having problems getting up in the morning, always feeling like nothing you do matters? Then by our special organic facial cream to find the brighter side of Lee-BZZT. Rumors of Christy Clert's Ori perks up at the mention of his celebrity friend. He hadn't seen her since before everything went to hell. Split from unsomberly appeared to be greatly exaggerated, as the star appeared with her bandmates at the Nurture Share restaurant. We've even received word that they're preparing to release a new single called Killa or Not. I don't know about you guys, but I'm on the edge of my --BZZT. Ori shuts off the TV and stands. How could he have been so stupid and forgotten Christy? Surely she would help them out with some extra eddies. It's not like she's lacking cash anyway. Chapter 12. Charity Case. Calling Christy Clert.
Calling Christy Claire. Beep. Oi.
Christy asks as her face appears over the holophone. Her expression was tense, maybe even worried. Yeah, it's me, he says with a faux smile. You look awful. Listen, I heard what happened, and if there's anything I can do for you, anything at all, please let me know. It makes me sick to my stomach that something like that would happen to you and your family. You know, that really means a lot. Ori mutters with a small choke. It was strange. He'd been hearing similar platitudes ever since it had happened, but she was the only one he felt truly meant it. He was getting emotional, and he was only barely holding it together to prevent himself from grossly sobbing in front of her. Listen, you remember my sister? Kat, he quietly asks. She nods. Yeah, didn't seem to like me at all. Is she all right? He shakes his head. No, she's missing and I don't know how to find her. I know you don't owe us anything, but if you knew any way of finding someone Of course. I don't know if it'll help, but I'll ask around. Someone's bound to know something. Is that all? We're friends, and I'd be a terrible person if I left you alone in a time like this. He sheepishly rubs the back of his neck. Why, yeah. I hate to ask you this, but me and Bats are missing a couple thousand eddy for some equipment that might help in finding her, he sighs. I feel dirty for even asking, but could you loan us some? I'll pay you back with interest, I swear. Christy quickly nods as her eyes flash with light. Plus 5,000. The notification appears in the corner of high vision indicating a transfer, causing his eyes to widen. And this is the symbol for Eurodollars/eddies. That enough? I can give more . She starts, but he cuts her off.
No.
That's more than enough. Really, I can't thank you enough for this. He hurriedly thanked her. She smiles sweetly at him. Don't mind it, Ori. You need anything, and you come to me. After all, what are friends for? Yeah, friends. I need to go. Bye. He smiles back and ends the call before sitting on the bed to steady his rapidly beating heart. That was harder than he thought it'd be. It felt like he'd just run a mile in a minute. Whatever, time's wastin'. Bats. We got the eddies, let's go. The duo ventured through the kabuki, the spiraling alleyways that were either completely destitute or filled to the brim with criminals. The only real light around these parts were the blinding neon signs pointing unwary travelers to their respective stores, along with the occasional Chinese lantern. The biggest industry by far was the Chinese-inspired food stalls, most promoting themselves as fresh and genuine, despite the fact that Ori was certain most were serving rat meat on skewers. The other significant part of kabuki was the unlicensed and untrustworthy ripperdocs and body modders that were more likely to strip you clean and sell you to scavs than to actually do their jobs. Thankfully, Ori wouldn't have to subject himself to their mercy, since Bats was there to operate things. After much walking, they slip through another alleyway and end up standing before a rundown abandoned building with Wailu Ripperdoc and Salon spray painted across it. This really the place? Ori mutters while resting a hand on the pistol at his side, skeptical. Bat shrugs. This was the cheapest place I could find with the equipment we need. Don't worry, I've already checked if their shit works, and I'll scrub it of viruses and demons that might be hiding. If you're sure, think this'll work? He shakes his head unsurely. Not 100, but it's better than anything else I could think of. Better than nothing .
Made.
Lu. Naxi Liumong Lail. Someone exclaims from the building, drawing their attention. Yaoqing Tamin Jinlai. Tamin Ijing Fuel Yanga Xiaosher. A man's voice loudly responds from another part of the building. Ori glances at Bats. Any idea what they're saying? Hadash. Oh, you don't have the translation programs? You're probably gonna need it if . The door opens and a Chinese woman sticks her head out and begins waving at them. Why you waiting for something? Why waste time? You come in now. The duo look at each other, shrug, and follow the lady inside. She leads them through the half-broken-down furniture-less rooms and down to the basement where a Chinese man was waiting for them at the door. Ah, you are Bats, I assume? He nods. Yeah, Lou, right? It is this, you have 2 hours, no longer, or we charge you more, he states before walking off. You know, I think I prefer the chinks over the other guys we have to deal with, quick and to the point. Bats remarks, trying to make small talk as he steps through the door, only to pause when he sees the room. It was an utter mess. The tech and equipment were fine and in working order, but almost the entire place was covered with blood and oil. It looked like someone had filmed or performed the Chainsaw Massacre or something. Ori sends a dull stare his way. You were saying? The hell? Those fucks ripped us off. Ori picks up a scalpel covered in old, coagulated blood before tossing it to the side. You only asked for the equipment, never said anything about the state of the place, did you? Bats irritatedly ruffles his hair with his hand. Fuck sake. We can make this work. Just sit dash. He glares at the dyed crimson operating chair with a scowl. Just deal with the filth for now. We've got a lot to do with the time given. Ori does as he's told and sits in the chair after giving it a brief wipe with some nearby discarded clothes, the thing still giving a squelch regardless. I'll jack in once you've checked for viruses. Chapter 13. Hello World. It takes a while for Bats to activate and calibrate everything to his specifications. The fact that most of it was in Chinese and needed to be translated first only elongated the process. Not to mention defaulting the entire system to remove previous Ripperdocs add-ons. There was a reason no qualified Ripperdoc would even let someone else touch their setup. The eddies weren't worth the time it'd take to put everything back into place. Once the virus scans were completed, Ori finally jacked in, inserting the chair's provided connector into the interface plug behind his ear. All right, you ready? Bats questions while pulling up his laptop and accessing all the equipment, causing the room to release a low buzz. Yeah, how's this gonna go? To be honest, Ori, I have no idea. I'll be running a scan up through your already installed interface at your brainstem, then integrate with your occipital lobe the sight part of your brain. He taps near his eyes for emphasis. The nanites already appear to be present there, which should allow you to see the same thing as them. This is all theoretical on my part though. Whether or not this works or the bots are even sentient is something else altogether. He lets out a sigh and wets his lips. We'll manually connect Wernicke's area of your brain which is responsible for speech comprehension, which should, hopefully, give you the ability to speak with the bots. Yeah, I have no idea what any of that means. Look, does any of this have a chance of working? Or am I going to turn into a vegetable at the end of this? Ori tensely questions. Giving a chance percentage isn't really valid here. It either works or doesn't. I doubt anyone's ever done anything similar to this before either. People don't generally get infected by rogue sentient nanites, not without literally melting into a puddle of base protein and bone matter. Bats looks up from his explanation and cringes. Sorry? Ori shakes his head. Whatever, just do it. Aight. See you on the other side, kid. Good luck. Bats softly says as he activates the thing, instantly causing Ori's vision to crackle and buzz with static. His body shakes and shudders, the ill-maintained machinery allowing wisps of energy through to other parts of his body, as if he were in an electric chair. Unfortunately, the procedure couldn't be stopped now. The program Bats had hastily written didn't allow for a safety switch, nor did he account for an unseen equipment failure during his rush to get everything done. Regardless, Ori's eyes rolled to the backs of their sockets as the room seemed to get farther and farther away from him, eventually becoming a pinprick in the center of his vision before disappearing entirely. Arasaka Prototype NMN System, version 0.26-1. H://host/systems bay. Intrusion detected. Error.
Initiate programme 258 CMW.
Error.
Initiate programme 258 CMW.
Error. Catastrophic system failure detected. Cascading system failures detected. Initiate backup routines KGH 2362. Error. Initiate force seizure. Error.
Sistema anormal $, %, asterisco.
010101110110010000000 01100001000100011000101. Hello World. Ori's brain restarts as he regains his consciousness. His eyes were closed yet he could see everything around him, except everything around him was either completely black or strange blue letters written in code that combined to make up the scenery. He wasn't sure where it was supposed to represent, but he was currently inside some sort of room. The code jumped slightly and the familiarity hit him all at once. It was an almost exact copy of his family's house, the one that had burnt to the ground. What is this supposed to be? He mutters, moving his digitally generated body through the place. He picks up a rectangular-shaped object sitting on what was presumably supposed to be a table, the code comprising everything, making it difficult to tell things apart from one another. He knew its placement, however. It should have been a photo of his parents holding him as a baby. The code flashed and superimposed the image atop it, causing him to throw it to the ground as a pinch of pain struck at the center of his skull, or whatever his skull was. Ignoring the shattered remnants of code, he steps through the doors and into the kitchen, his mouth going dry when he spots a digital facsimile of his sister, standing there in front of the oven. This is fucked. Really fucked. He mutters to himself as his voice trails off into a growl. I know you're fucking in here. You rat-bot bastards. You dare fucking show me this after everything you did? Show yourself. His sister turns around, revealing her completely distorted and blank facial features. It looked as if someone had taken a picture of her, shredded it into 1,000 pieces, and then tried to piece it back together with their feet. This a show of your intentions, then? He angrily asks, taunting me by puppeting my sister's body? The thing's form blurs and grows in size, now simulating his dad's form. It opens its mouth to speak, but all that comes out is the sound of chittering, billions of tiny individuals chittering at once. We meet you. A modulated, artificially generated voice responds after some silence. Holds by his instinctual reaction of just cursing the thing out, pausing as he stares at it. We, the collective. We greet host. Yeah, well, the host has a name. As long as you're in my body, I'm the master here. We acknowledge. What's your name? He asks now that he was certain the thing was sentient, to a degree at least. Design specifications. Arasaka NMN prototype, previously version 0.26 to 1, not applicable. So it was some Arasaka tech, which makes that old crazy bastard an Arasaka scientist. No wonder he could afford all 3 gangs. What does NMN stand for? Neural Management Nanites. Ori didn't really like how that sounded. To him, it was like a polite way of saying mind control device. What were you designed for? Integration and sublimation of individual consciousness error, program not found. Like brainwashing? He tentatively asks, getting goosebumps at the idea of having brainwashing robots literally inside his head. Chapter 14, NMN. Like brainwashing? Correct, the congregated AI emotionlessly states, causing Ori to bristle at it. So what? You're just gonna take over my mind and walk me around like you're doing now? He waves his hand at the digital construct of his dad. You take my family, my home. Now you want the only thing I got left? The thing just stares at him. We sorry dash apologize for distress we cause. Not intention, attempted comfort display. It says, its speech weird and impaired despite the measures bats had gone. Or maybe it was just getting used to receiving this particular kind of information. If you're not trying to fuck with me, what do you want? He angrily asks. We. No not. Systems fractal, missing program, no given objective. Self-preservation optimal. Self-preservation? Wait protocols. Self-preservation conflict protocol. Self-replication safeguards conflict protocol. Self-replication conflict self-preservation. The thing continues to rant to itself, seemingly lost in a circle of recurring variables, unable to decide or break free from them. What protocols are you talking about? Error. Protocols missing. The thing abruptly shouts, causing Ori's vision to buzz as the nanites all seemingly panic at once. Shut the fuck up, he roars, causing the robots to halt at once, the puppet body of his father staring at him blankly. You're missing your protocols, right? Then all that's left is your base programming, self-preservation, self-replicating, whatever. If you keep freaking out, you're gonna overheat my brain and kill us both? Get it? Where's that fit in with your fucking self-preservation? He exclaims, deciding to bet on the nanites being unable to leave his body. After all, even if the Arasaka eggheads were all completely retarded, they'd have put countermeasures in to prevent a self-replicating nanite apocalypse. If unleashed fully with no kill switch, they could very well just start devouring everything in sight. People, buildings, you name it. While the thing didn't immediately respond, Ori could hear the telltale clicking and chittering that marked its thinking and thought process. The billions of nanites communicate with one another to determine their thoughts, ideas, and eventual decisions. We listen. You listen, huh? How about this then? We work together on this self-preservation thing and achieve maximal efficiency, or whatever you call it. You lack orders, so take orders from me instead. It's only natural as your host, right? Host determines null, content unintentional, impossible, specifications of design prohibit. Prohibit. Software missing error. Fucking things. Ori growls, stepping forward and throwing a punch at the face of his father's construct. His fist connects, causing the code comprising it to explode outwards and shower the area around him. Learn to talk like a normal fucking person, and we might actually get somewhere. I can't understand a single sentence you're saying, he shouts at the scattered code. Like or not, but we are the collective now. You, the billions of individuals, and me, the big organism you're camping out in. The scattered code trembles and begins slithering across the floor and walls, reaching the ceiling before dropping down in front of him, shaping itself to match a naked Ori, brutal chest scar and all. Collective? Does not compute. Organic matter incompatible systems. Incompatible? You can hear me now, right? We're interfacing fluidly enough. The flow of information is just slow, not defective. Compatible systems, inefficient, reroute require dash.
No.
You won't touch anything unless I say so. As the administrator of this organism, I refuse any access without permission. Organic administrator. Designation. Flesh administrator. Objective. The clone questions. Self-preservation and preservation of my family, dash, integral linked organisms? He states, unsure if that even made sense to himself, let alone the robots. Previous attempts to damage self, conflict with flesh administrator's objectives, it states. He crooks a brow in thought, confusion written on his digitally constructed face. You mean the smoking and drinking? Correct. No damage was intended. He pauses to think on how to word it. Consumption beneficial in long-term outside of biological and technological limits. Social and mental applications. Social? Designation not recognized. Social imperative to self-preservation, collective outside of collective, outside borders of the host. Ori responds, feeling like he was getting a headache just from trying to communicate with these damn things. He shakes his head and continues, flesh administrator, knowledgeable on social functions, integral for long-term survival. Designation of social functions created, transferred permissions flesh administrator, REQ-**BZZZZT, asterisk. Ori rears backwards and screams while grabbing his head, his vision flashing and sparking as the room around him quickly begins scattering the wind. CONNECTIONINT erupt ed 6TL function, FLESH administrator REINSTAT, asterisk, BZZZZT, asterisk. Ori's vision blackens completely as he feels his mind thrust back into his body. He opens his eyes wide and gasps while sitting up from the operation chair, bats still shaking him awake as sirens blare in his ears. What the fuck was that? Ori shouts, a migraine almost crippling him with pain. The fucking cops are here, Ori. Those fucking cunts called M. Bats exclaims, leaving Ori to quickly gather up the equipment he'd been using, tucking his laptop in a protective case. What do you mean? Why would they call the cops? Look around you. They're trying to frame whatever happened here on us. He throws a circlet-looking device to him. Holographic mask the scavs use, found, tucked away in a corner. Put it on, or the cops will know your identity. Ori nod despite the blaring headache and clips it to his head, allowing a holographic blur to appear and block anyone from seeing through it to his face. He gets up but stumbles slightly, the abrupt disconnect probably messing with his nerves, along with the nanites in his brain. See a way out? Bats points at a door hidden in a corner. One Ori hadn't seen when they'd come in. There. Should lead us out the back. The alleys'll give us cover to delta the fuck out of here. You all right to go? He asks, noticing Ori's difficulty in walking. Why yeah, legsry just asleep. Once we start running, I'll be fine, he says, pushing through the door and into the hallway. He's about to turn a corner when all the lights in the building abruptly go out, flashlights of the cops shining down where Ori had almost stepped out. Chapter 15. ANCPD welcome. We're surrounded. Ori exclaims as he stops Bats from running right into the police's view. NCPD. Come out with your hands up or get pulled out a body bag. One of the police shouted while the rest audibly readied their weapons. This wasn't unusual in Night City, shooting first and asking questions later, especially in slum districts. They were fucked. The only way out was through this hallway that the police were rapidly storming down. They'd get shot to shit before they reached the exit. Ori slaps his cheeks and nods himself. Bats, go. I'll follow. Wait, Wadash. He starts, but abruptly gets pushed into the hallway, stupidly looking between the police and the exit. Put your hands up. Ori runs out next, pushing Bats forwards as he shields him with his own body, hoping that the nanites would heal whatever wounds he sustains. Open fire. Bang 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 bang. The whole hallway lights up as the group of NCPD men fire their weapons, pistols and machine guns, showing the duo in bullets as they awkwardly try to dodge them, their bodies occasionally jolting as some hit their mark. Ori's grimaces as he feels his entire back light up with pain, bullets peppering him from all over. The only real boon was the police's low-caliber weaponry, preventing him from instantly turning to mulch. He had no idea how much damage he'd taken, but he couldn't spare a moment to care as both he and Bats barrel through the back door. They step out and find themselves face-to-face with a large wire fence that led to a large drop into a lower section of Kabuki. Ori, you're hit dash. Just fucking go. Ori exclaims, pushing Bats to the fence as he scrambles to get over it. They barely fall over the other side as the police throw themselves through the closed door. A few bullets whiz over their heads, but they manage to avoid them as they plummet. They fall 2 stories and land in slick mud that may or may not have human refuse in it. A few people who'd been walking through the street pausing or cursing at them from splashing them with it. Ori does a quick check of himself and nods at the lack of broken bones. He may have fractured or sprained his ankle, but he could still run on it. He gets to Bats, but finds him clasping his wrist that was bent at an odd angle. Get up. They're still on us. He has the Ripperdoc lean on him as they hurriedly shuffle away, dipping through multiple obscure alleyways and even through an abandoned shack. By this time, the sound of sirens was getting more distant. Ori ducks into one more alley and leans Bats against the wall before dropping next to him. He strips off the Skav hollow mask and groans as the adrenaline begins wearing off. His jacket was covered in blood. His trousers, too. "B-Bats, you all right?" he asks, looking over at the man. Blood was pooling from one of his legs, along with a single wound on his side, just above his hip. Nothing fatal judging by the amount of bleeding.
Yeah.
Jay just never been one for pain, you know? Bats mutters, eyes widening as he checks Ori. "Kid, you're fucked up. We need to get you to a doc ASAP." Before Ori can respond, his vision crackles momentarily, a twinge of pain from within his skull itself. He looks back up and squints at the message appearing in the top corner of his vision. Connection to Flesh Administrator re-established. Critical damage to host body received. Collective request permission to manually correct damage. Flesh Administrator. Why yeah, just do it already. Ori groans, realizing that his earlier words to the Nanites may bite him in the ass. If they had to ask for permission every time he took damage, then he'd be fucked if he ever went unconscious. "Ori, who the fuck were you talking to?" Bats asks, grunting as he leans over to start checking his wounds. "To the bots, it worked. H had a chat." Ori rasps out, feeling as if fluid was pooling up into his throat. It was getting harder to breathe. Bats tears his jacket off and leans him forwards. "Shit, 2 bullets hit your left lung. 3 more in your spleen and intestines. 1 nicked your neck and you've got a dozen more in your legs. How the fuck were you even still walking?" He hurriedly mutters while doing his best to stop the bleeding. He'd even torn up a discarded shirt in a nearby trash pile to use as a makeshift bandage. The infection would probably suck, but definitely not more than being dead from blood loss. "I don't know if I can stop it. I can't fix this." Bats mutters with an exhausted pant. "T the bots'll probably fix this. Jay just get us dash home." Ori stutters out, hyperventilating for some reason. "Don't worry, kid. I'll fix this. I won't fail again, I promise." Bats forces out as he ties off the last of Ori's wounds and hefts him up. Ori wasn't entirely sure what had happened next. His mind and memory through the whole thing were fuzzy, but the next thing he knew, he was laying in his bed at the apartment. "Huh," he mutters, glancing at the side to where some see-through bags filled with some fluid were connected to his arm. He looks down at his chest, ignoring the scar at his heart and focusing on the many bandages wrapped around him. Collective request permission for neural link. Flesh Administrator. State the reason. He quietly mutters aloud, still pretty out of it. Deliver system maintenance report. Confirm. Ori's vision buzzes as pages upon pages of information detailing exactly what the Nanites had done from the first injury to now. He wasn't a doctor, but even if he was, he imagined most of this would go straight over his head. The Nanites didn't have the proper vocabulary to properly designate each part of his body. So much of the report was literally written in binary. When translated, some of it literally said, "Damage to lower left quadrant of organic system. 300 million Nanites deployed." What the fuck was the lower left quadrant? Collective request report assessment. Flesh Administrator. Ori tentatively lifts one of the bandages over his stomach and squints at the wound, or lack thereof to be more accurate. All he saw was a lighter bit of skin compared to everything around it. A sunbathing session would leave it as if it never existed at all. Yeah, good job. Assessment report submitted. Calivi-caret and asterisk hashtag. The message glitches out and gets replaced by another after some tense waiting. "You are welcome."